The Phantom Archives of Edgar the Architect, and Schale by Gen Kagami. Volume 8, Vence. The Ark of Light, or the Apostate's Church. Untethered from the concept of time, the genius architect Edgar and the pearl-haired youth Schale wander through eternity, retaining their youthful, exquisite forms. Across eras, they traverse the world's renowned architectural works and the maddening constructs Edgar himself once assembled. This is a tranquil, decadent journey through phantom architecture, dissecting space, light, gravity, and the anomalies lurking within through cold, unflinching logic. 1. Nordic Melancholy and the Ticket to the South. Helsinki, Finland. Though they had occupied Alvar Aalto's warm atelier, the world outside the window remained heavy, a leaden sky hanging low over the earth. In the midst of the dreary Nordic winter atmosphere, where darkness falls by mid-afternoon, Schale let out an overtly weary sigh from atop an emerald green sofa. Hey Edgar, I like Aalto's wood and brick, but the sky in this city is too sombre. It feels as if even the blueprints you're drawing might grow damp with gloom. Do not complain. I chose this place to warm your body, which had grown chilled in Mises' transparent box. Edgar, seated at a massive wooden drafting table, cast a chilling glance towards Schale from beneath his jet-black fringe. His quiet, definitive voice carried a trace of exasperation. In that case, I have a most fitting request for you. Schale, dangling his bare feet over the edge of the sofa, playfully waved an old sheet of letter paper. The south of France. The Côte d'Azur, where the sun shines and a dry wind blows. And the client? He's the grandson of a man you looked after 75 years ago. You've been hand-picked in his will. 2. The light from 75 years ago. 75 years ago. That would be just after the Great War, when humans were still fretting over their daily bread amidst the rubble. Edgar set down his Caran d'Ache pencil and slowly rose from the drafting table. Though he spoke of 75 years, a span of time capable of swallowing the entirety of human birth, aging, sickness and death, his appearance remained that of a young, beautiful man, without a single shadow of aging. When it comes time to commission a new work for our family, you must seek an architect by the name of Edgar, so it says. Schale read the ancient testament aloud, adopting an intentionally theatrical tone. He is a youth with jet-black hair, always garbed in heavy attire. He speaks in an exceedingly quiet and definitive manner. No matter how youthful he may appear, you must never doubt him. For we are still sustained today by the light of that church of aspiration he built for our town in the darkness after the war. Finishing the letter, Schale let out a malicious little giggle. A masterpiece, truly. You who know that God does not exist and have been forsaken by time itself, designed a church for desperate humans to pray for future and hope. Do they mistake you for a divine messenger of some sort? 3. The Apostate's Architecture and the Small Museum. A mockery of fate. For us, who possess no death, the concept of tomorrow does not exist. It is precisely because of this that I was able to create a space for humans who desperately seek light within their limited. Time crafted with a beauty that is almost cruel, based solely on calculations of mechanics and optics. Edgar spoke chillily, averting his eyes from the leaden sky outside to the new commission in Schale's hand. By the side of the church built by an apostate who believes in no God, What does this grandson ask me to design now? A small museum. Schale leaned forward, lowering his voice slightly. A small museum filled with light, meant to display the vast memories left by his grandfather, and a collection of antique clocks. The site is directly adjacent to that very church. A collection of clocks. The moment those words fell, the air in the atelier tightened. The phantom of Alan fiddling with a clock in the depths of Horta's facing mirrors flickered through their minds. I see. It seems this will not be a sweet vacation of simply drawing blueprints under the Provençal sun. Edgar's cruel lips curved into an arc that could have been either a self-derisive smile or the grin of a hunter. He heedlessly crumpled the tracing paper on his desk into a ball and tossed it into the bin, reaching for the Harris tweed jacket draped over the back of his chair. Let's go, Schale. I have no more business with this dismal city. 4. The Walled City and the Labyrinth of Light. In total contrast to the leaden sky of Helsinki, the sky over the Côte d'Azur was dyed a violent, eye-stinging ultramarine. The two arrived in Vence, a walled city built upon a hill overlooking the Mediterranean. Schale walked with a buoyant stride through the narrow cobblestones of the old town Vieilleville, which still bore the deep traces of the Middle Ages. In the labyrinthine alleys, tall stone houses cast deep shadows, with only the sliver of sky above shining white. Every time the dry wind blew, the scent of sweet citrus and dried herbs tickled their nostrils. I feel as though I've regained my breath. Humans truly do need the sun and the shadows. Schale narrowed his eyes with pleasure, listening to the sound of clear water springing from the old fontaine in the Place du Perret. His slender frame, clad in a raw linen shirt, caught the strong southern sun, faintly revealing the silhouette of his wax-white skin. The figure that had looked like a wraith in the cold Nordic light now radiated a raw, sensual beauty within this city's violent interplay of light and shadow. The labyrinths humans build are, in any era, merely a game of hide and seek. They are nothing more than stone carapaces intended to hide from enemies and escape the fierce heat of the south. Edgar's quiet, definitive voice echoed lowly against the cobblestones as he walked slightly behind Schale. Even in this harsh, dry heat, he stubbornly refused to remove his heavy Harris tweed jacket. Beneath his jet-black fringe, his chilling eyes surveyed the city's contours with the inorganic gaze of an architect. However, the skeletal structure of this city is not bad. It possesses a clear purposefulness. It does not defy the slope of the terrain, but seeks to protect itself. That is the only reason these stones have remained piled here for centuries. Edgar softly traced an old arched stone gateway with his long fingers. As he touched it, the coarse stone surface that had marked the passage of centuries seemed to let out a faint cold sigh, as if resonating for a fleeting moment with their unending time. Always such an uncharming way of looking at things, Schale chuckled, and looked toward the other side of the stone gate past the old town to the bright, straight road leading further up the hill. Come, let's go, Edgar. Let us see how you solve the problem of light right next to this stone labyrinth 75 years ago. And let us see what kind of false cosmetics that old painter applied to your structure. V. The Vence sunshine and the painter's lie. The hill of Vence, where a dry wind blew. The two now stood before a small church with pure white exterior walls that seemed to melt into the blue sky, topped with a geometric blue and white roof. No matter how many times I see it, I can't help but laugh, Edgar. Everyone in the world believes without a doubt that this Chapelle du Rosaire is a miraculous space designed by the painter Henri Matisse. Schale narrowed his eyes against the glare, shielding his sight with wax-white fingers as he looked up at the church's facade. The blue, green and yellow light spilling from the stained glass cast vivid phantoms of colour upon the white marble floor. Certainly the black-lined sacred murals and the dance of colours were the work of that old painter's brush. However, the overwhelming serenity and the calculation of light within the space were never born from a paintbrush. A painter cannot create the skeleton of a space. Edgar, still garbed in his heavy Harris tweed despite the intense southern sun, spoke quietly and definitively. There was not a shred of anger toward historical fallacy in his voice, only the resonance of cold, hard fact. The essence of design is purposefulness. It is to solve someone's problem through a unique method and sublimate it into a higher dimension of beauty and rationality. That is all. Edgar traced a line in the air with a long finger, following the roofline of blue and white tiles. 75 years ago, what the nuns suffering from the scars of the Great War sought was light for their prayers. I presented the perfect architectural skeleton structure to serve as the canvas for that problem. That old painter merely applied the cosmetics of colour atop the high-dimensional rationality I had prepared. 6. The Archive of Clock Grave Posts. The words of an apostate architect, utterly arrogant, yet an absolute truth. Schale chuckled and shifted his gaze from the beautiful stained glass of the church to the vacant lot in the olive grove stretching out beside it. So, what problem are you going to solve this time? Who can say? It depends on what the grandson of that client fears, and what he is trying to entomb. Edgar thrust both hands into the pockets of his tweed, staring chillily at the parched earth of the site. A museum to display the vast memories left by his grandfather, and a collection of antique clocks. A vessel for lining up the carcasses of machines that mark time. It is no longer a museum. It is closer to a mausoleum. At that moment, an elderly man was seen slowly approaching from the shade of the olive trees. The man, dressed in a high-quality linen suit, caught one glimpse of Edgar's young and beautiful form, and immediately fell to his knees as if touched by a divine miracle. Oh, my grandfather's testament was true. Master Edgar, I am couturier. Please, with your own hands, build the mansion that will entomb the time of our family. End of Volume 8.